Charlie, if you're able to grab a seat over there, and we just pop this countdown clock, and then I know what I'm doing.
Oh, great. Very nice to be here.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, thanks.
How did you find navigating Bristol just now? You're getting
Well, someone stopped me in the office about an hour ago and said, Charlie, I've just got something, a notification that you're speaking in Bristol in an hour.
where were you at this point?
I was in Wells.
Okay.
So I'm delighted to be here.
Frankly, you're delighted. We are deeply delighted because at 1:27 we weren't so aware that you were definitely going to be here. So let's come on to this. A scene setter. First, we'll talk about the business now, and you are allowed a glass of water.
Thank you very much.
One call to a lawyer as well. Scene setter, give us an idea of the scale of the business for those who perhaps don't know a little bit about what you do, and then we'll come on to the why you do it, etc. So.
Okay, I'm going to start with what we actually make. Has anyone eaten our food? Yes. Just stick. Okay, it's most of you, but not all of you, which is great. That's a really good reason to be here.
That's not the reason.
It's a reason for me.
Okay.
It's a reason for me. So okay, so we make delicious food, which we sell across the country. Waitrose, Sainsbury's, Tesco, and a few others, all important customers. We've got two big kitchens. One just outside Wells, so not very far from here. Slightly under an hour, I can tell you.
In case there's any legal people here, did you observe all speed limits?
I did actually, because I'm currently sitting on 6 points, so I can't.
Sometimes it's hard to question like that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so
Wells,
we've got a lovely kitchen built in Old Quarry, just outside the lovely city of Wells, and then we've got also our innovation kitchen in London. In Park Royal, for those of you who know London and Park Royal, and it's a sort of centre of industry and entrepreneurship and excellence where I started the business more than 25 years ago. Across the two kitchens, we have about a team of about 750 people, and kind of to make it simple, how much food do we make? We in a good week, 1 million people will eat our food.
That is, as a scene setter, as a sense of scale, that tells you an awful lot. We're going to go back in time now. So what were you doing? A little bit about that. This is Anderson Consulting. And then why travel, why India specifically, and why, very specifically, a camper van?
Great. Okay, so a quick run through. I did English literature at university. I had no idea what to do, which is actually a really healthy thing to do. My kids are at that age now. It's a really good, healthy place to be when you come out of university not knowing what you want to do, I think. People panic and think they have to rush into careers. I thought I'd get a job and earn some money, and I got a job with a big global management consultancy company, which was called Anderson Consulting at the time. It's now called Accenture. Very, very good company. I always recommend people go and join a sort of, best-in-class company because you learn a lot. I learned loads that I still apply today. So I worked there for a few years, and then I moved on to a small consultancy specialising in the arts sector. This was when, for those of you old enough, remember the National Lottery was just getting going. There was all this money sloshing around, and arts organisations wanted a bit of the cash. Government wanted to try and work out who to give the cash to, who wasn't going to spend it all stupidly. And so sort of sitting in the middle, there was this little niche, which was arts management consultancy, which I found myself in, and worked all over the country and sort of looking at feasibility studies for building theatres and museums and art galleries and things. Did that for a few years. Loved it, but kind of thought this isn't me forever. So then my girlfriend and myself, now my wife Claire, we both jacked in our jobs. She was doing sort of TV commercials and stuff, bought a camper van and drove off to India. Took about 9 months, then back.
The metaphor of entrepreneurs is a journey. For your journey, did you actually have a destination in mind? There's a particular place in India you were heading for, or did you have a plan?
No, not really. But I was very lucky. It was actually my third year off that. I did one before university, one after university, and then that was my third one. And again, that's something I really recommend. If anyone's at a sort of slightly loose end thinking, what do I do next? Take a year off. Life is for living.
Life is for living. Maybe not literally a camper van into India, but who knows?
Who knows?
And talk about a little bit about how we call it corporate life. It's an easy way of framing it, but that role that you had, how you and your values and life approach was changed by that experience of travelling and India specifically.
Oh gosh, I hope I haven't got corporate values. That
I know.
sounds a bit
I'm framing it
scary.
as a you know, a senior
Values.
job. Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm very fortunate. I've travelled a lot, and I think I'm a huge advocate of travelling the world. I think it opens your eyes to so much, not least the sort of amazing contribution that people can bring. It's what I've found from wherever they come from in the world. I mean, we're hugely proud that in our business we employ more than 45 different nationalities. I say more than 45 at the last count, and it's probably gone up. And so I kind of thinking, being open to realising that actually there are fantastic people all over the world is brilliant. And also, obviously, if you're into food like I am and love eating food and cooking food, then what better thing to do than to go travelling and see what other people get up to when it comes to food.
Was it a happenstance that you were there and then suddenly realising, well, actually, Indian, flavours, smells, whatever, that helped respond? Or was it I might do this and let's see if were you actually investigating? Or was it just a discovery?
So when we set off on our lovely 9-month journey, we kind of left thinking we've got nice jobs, but they don't feel like it, so to speak. So let's go away and work out a few things along the way. One of which was, what are we going to do with the rest of our lives in terms of work? And so I was kind of searching for something, and about about 4 or 5 months in, it came to me in a flash of light.
This was a passage to India. For those of you who know,
not in India, actually.
It wasn't in India.
It was in a rather interesting place. It was It was crossing the border from Iran into Pakistan. It was a very hot night, and I couldn't sleep. And I thought, this is an interesting idea. It's not a good place to go, actually, that border. It wasn't that good then. It's a lot worse now. But it was a good place to have a spark of inspiration. A spark of inspiration.
How formed was that thought? Was it something in food, or was it any sense of specificity? What was the process?
It was semi-formed, I would say. No, it was something in food, and I thought, yes, there was the kernel of an idea, but that sort of developed. I guess I can't remember. I think there was a kernel of idea which sort of developed over the next few months as we carried on travelling, and then when I came back, I sort of put my management consultancy hat back on, if you like. Went and did some research, the serious stuff. Actually went and got a job in a deli. Sort of the less serious but very important stuff, getting a bit of cheese under the fingernails, understanding what kind of food businesses are really like.
That isn't a metaphor, is it? That's literally cheese.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and I particularly liked selling cheese, actually.
Really? Do you still like selling cheese in some form or other? I guess cheese is a
I love. I mean, cheese is the food of the gods. You could just kind of go on eating it forever.
You could do. So those very early days, was your now wife Claire? Was she part of this as a thing when you came back, or?
She was very involved in the early days. Driving around our little van, delivering stuff around London. I'd come back. It's tricky. Yeah. How many people here have started a business? Okay, yeah. So it's quite tricky, isn't it? Those early days, I'd go to work at sort of quite early in the morning because food starts early, and we were just starting to have children as well. So then I'd go to work and I'd sort of come back, and usually with a bunch of dirty overalls, I'd hand those to Claire and say, "Could you wash those?" I couldn't afford to pay anyone else to wash them, and then I'd maybe have a bit of supper, have a chat to her, and then I'd go back to work afterwards and do the accounts. I didn't really know how to do the accounts, but you could learn how to do accounts. You teach yourself quite quickly, and so it's kind of busy time. And Claire was definitely all in helping me.
And at what point in those very early days has it moved from a sort of an interesting, maybe give it all the hours, whatever, sort of a side thing into an actual business idea? At what point do you think this is a business? I've got something here.
I thought that from pre-day one.
Okay.
I mean, you've got to have belief. You don't go in and thinking, well, I mean, if anyone's sitting on the fence and thinking, well, shall I, shan't I? One piece of advice I give is don't go into it unless you're prepared to go into it with both feet.
Go all in, completely. Talk about your motivation in being an entrepreneur. I don't know if you necessarily framed it as that in those days, but the sense of you're going to do something yourself and be in charge and be responsible. What was your actual motivation?
Very straightforward. I worked out quite quickly, working for other people, that I was very bad at it. I didn't like being told what to do, and I'm sort of a bit opinionated, so I thought I'd be better off if there wasn't someone telling me what to do.
It's not what we want at all in our keynote, someone who's really opinionated. So please, please yomp forward on that front. Now, relatively early on, I think 1997, you gained the Waitrose deal, which I don't know what proportion, but it's still a material part of your business to this day. Can you give us the run-up? How did that deal come about from your, frankly, very small business, I'm assuming at the time? How did you get that, and what did you do when you got that deal?
Actually, I think we did that deal when the business didn't exist at all, it was at an idea stage. I was making a few things on the kitchen table. I might have been supplying one deli in London, someone I bumped into, and he said, "Oh, I'm setting up a deli. Oh, great! I'm setting up a food business. How about you sell my stuff?" Yeah, great idea. We didn't sell any. It was a disaster for him, but it was useful for me. But anyway, I went round, as you should do when you're setting up a business. Full stop, but especially like I was in an area I knew nothing about. I'd never worked in food. You sort of, you look for people to talk to, and someone relatively early on, I think I had this vision to sell, be the saviour of the independent food shop, someone who loves food. I wanted to kind of, I kind of thought supermarkets, bad, they don't treat people right, etc., etc. And it's going to be all about supplying independent food shops and really fantastic food, and I will help, food shops, these independent food shops thrive. Someone said to me who knew much more about, I knew nothing, said, "Charlie, that's kind of a nice idea, nice ideals. However, people do actually go and do their shopping in supermarkets. That's kind of it's quite convenient, whereas most delis and independent food shops are really more sort of food gift shops than food everyday shops in this country. It's not the case everywhere, but it is largely the case here. That's not to in any way belittle fantastic delis and independent shops. And actually, I think the farm shop thing has probably come on since then, and that's slightly different and fantastic. And this guy I was chatting to said, so probably maybe have a chat with the nice people at Waitrose. They're quite a nice bunch. They're sort of slightly different to a normal supermarket. Well, okay, sounds like a good idea. So I rang the switchboard and persuaded them that I had something new and different, and it would be a good idea to see me. And they kindly agreed to see me and listen to me and stock our food.
I think we all probably suspect it's slightly more complicated than that.
I promise you it wasn't.
But isn't that amazing? The idea that, the undauntedness. Nick Hounsfield's going to be talking later in the day about fearlessness, and I guess this is in that territory of, well, why not? Of course you just ring Waitrose and try and get a meeting and sell everything. Actually, have you ever broken out, maybe this is too much information, broadly how much of your business Waitrose is? It's reasonably material.
So Waitrose have been, not surprisingly, they've been they're our longest standing customer. We really were with them, not exclusively, but we were with them very much predominantly for the first 15 years, because they were great support. They got behind me, they got behind our food and our brand, and we worked in a really close partnership. And I kind of said, well, look, if we can grow at 25-30% a year, I don't really need to go elsewhere in a big way. So we predominantly work with them, do work with a few restaurants and things on the side. And so today they're still roughly, I think maybe 45% of our business.
Right, which is, it's pretty material indeed. We've, there's angels and devils coming here. So you've talked very briefly and interestingly about the Waitrose deal as a big success. What about some setbacks? All entrepreneurs have some form of setbacks. We're coming on to bounce back ability and resilience later. What sort of setbacks did you have, and how did you respond to them personally?
Yeah, I have this belief that it's really good to apply amnesia to setbacks. Because it's kind of like there's enough going on anyway in your day to day.
Do you want to apply it now and just not talk about it?
Yeah, but so I think of course stuff goes wrong the whole time. Yeah. It still does. It always will. And it's great. And sort of my attitude to when things go wrong is sort of learn from it, move on. Really important to learn from it, and it really irritates me if we make the same mistake twice in our business, because then we haven't learned from it. But it's kind of move on and don't dwell on it. I mean, gosh, it's just like
Life's too short.
life's too
You were
short.
going to say it, I can hear it. Just so you know, as a backdrop, we've talked quite a bit at EntreConf about the value of learning through whichever mode. And that sense, so there's an earlier piece about pitching for investment and learning from it when you have failures. But learning from that, whatever it was, whatever the setbacks were that you've forgotten about and wiped out, the important thing is twofold, as Charlie's just said. One, learn from it, and two, don't repeat it. And provided that, then I guess up to a point, setbacks can actually be beneficial in
They're
a
great.
strange way.
I mean, mistakes are vital.
You
They're
learn more.
vital. Without mistakes, you're never going to have a good business.
Are you looking forward to your next mistake?
Yeah, it'll probably be in a few minutes.
Okay, here we go then. This might be the one. No, not at all. So tell us about ethical values and growth, and they're not in conflict, but I want to explore this potential duality. You were, I think, the first in the industry, in the food industry, to switch from plastic packaging to wooden trays, which is something like 2007. It now appears to be commonplace. It's the old, today's heresy is tomorrow's orthodoxy, but you were pioneering that. Why did you go that route, and did it cost you more?
Shall I just talk specifically about wooden packaging?
You
or do
can.
want me to talk generally? I'll do the wooden packaging thing.
Yeah.
Again, I know there are some people in this audience who don't know our food. So, we don't make ready meals. We just make really nice food. But we are sold in the supermarket, kind of adjacent to people who make ready meals. And ready meals tend to go in a plastic tray or maybe a tinfoil tray. And they sort of send out, in my mind, signals of compromise, of sort of convenience over taste. They usually go in a microwave. They're not very nice on the whole. And so we kind of wanted to break the mold and do something different. And all of us, when we go into a supermarket, we're shopping, we're making sort of millisecond decisions. We don't, subconscious decisions as we walk down the aisle. So I walked into a bakery, and I saw this rather interesting wooden tray which had some bread in it. I thought, that's kind of interesting. That's made me stop and look at this. But actually, if we could use that wooden tray as opposed to a plastic tray or a aluminium tray, that's quite a nice disruptor on the shelf. It's going to catch your eye as you walk past it. So that was really the reason I did it, predominantly.
As a differentiator.
It has a subliminal message about craft and care. It's something packaged in wood. And then obviously, kind of as we got into it and looked into it, and nobody was talking about plastic then. I mean, David Attenborough started talking about plastic only about 10 years ago. We forget this. It's all happened quite fast. Nobody minded about plastic. But it kind of felt like the right thing to do as well from an environmental point of view. Obviously now it's great. We've put an awful lot of work into it. It was a lot more expensive when we started. We've managed to find the right supplier and work in close partnership with them, as we do with all of our suppliers. So now the cost premium has come down a lot. Absolutely worth every penny. And of course now it is surprise when we go and do the sort of full carbon analysis and all that. It just wipes the floor with any other sort of packaging. So it's it's a win-win-win.
So why do ethical matters matter to you, to you, your team, the business, the brand? Why do that? It's a fairly straightforward question, and I guess it's now wholly baked in, as it were, to every aspect of what you do. Why does it matter so much?
Well, these things matter. We care. We all care. We care. I guess I care. I'm taking the punt that our consumers care. At least some of our consumers care. And I think actually most of our consumers do care. Whether that's about the sourcing of our food, the health, nutrition, all of that, and the fact we have a duty to try and make sure our food is not just delicious, but also it's not going to do you harm. Hopefully, do you some good. And then when it comes to packaging, we want to be very sustainable. We do loads of great stuff. Whether it's buying green electricity or massive stuff. We've done it for years. I think. Shall I touch on B Corp?
Please do.
Do you know about B Corp? Anyone know about B Corp? So B Corp is an interesting thing. We became certified. Sounds like we're insane.
Only up to a point.
A few, I think maybe it was 4 years ago. So we weren't the first people to do it, but we thought it was quite a nice way, when we looked into it, of formalising a lot of what we've been doing for years anyway. And sort of where it's really helped is it helps us talk about it internally. So we've got the teams. It used to just be me going off and doing things I'd go and sort of sign a contract. We'll buy green electricity. I think we did that 20 years ago. I forgot to tell anyone about it. Because I mean, why? You just do the right thing. Why make a big thing about it? You don't want to show off. You're just doing the right thing. But actually, guess what? Our team at work are really interested in the idea that we buy all green electricity, and it's actually something that it gives us a hook to talk about being more sustainable within our work. So that's quite nice. It's also brilliant being a B Corp for attracting the brightest of young talent, because I think more and more people come out of university or whatever and are looking around and they've got a choice who they want to work with, and they say, okay, well look, this is interesting, this is a business, it's a B Corp, they're best places to work, they've got some, awards for mental health at work or whatever it is. That's the sort of business I'd like to work for. So it kind of pays for itself, because it means we get brilliant people coming to us rather than we have to go and pay recruitment consultants, who are my favourite people.
We may or may not have a couple in the audience.
No, they're useful. They're useful, but if you can avoid them, it's nice if people come to you rather than you have to pay someone.
Thank you so much for that observation. It very much, what you've just said, not the latter bit, the main bit, absolutely coincides with what Andy Salmon was saying. He's the Executive Dean at Parsley University, making the exact point about a rising generation sense of value of where they wish to work, their values of life, absolutely coming through in their employment approach. Tell us about this. This is into the point about scale. As 750 people, a million meals,
million people a week,
which is astonishing, and then sales 120 million or so. Have you found any tension points between maintaining your sense of values, your integrity, your personal values, with scale? And how is there been any trade-offs, things that you wouldn't do or with reluctance have done?
Okay, thank you for that little intro. This is me. I'm just going to climb onto a soapbox. I'm going to climb onto a soapbox because there's this. I have found there's this kind of weird thing that we do in the UK when it comes to business. We have this view in this country. I don't think it's as common in other countries. We have this view that as a business gets bigger, it gets worse. The number of people over the years who've said to me, "Oh, Charlie, I bet your food's not as good as today as it is when you started, is it? I bet you've cut loads of corners and you've made it cheaper and you've done this." That's what a weird way to think. What a weird way to think. And we're sort of pre-programmed to think like this. And what I say to people is, look, you've got a choice. If you are lucky enough to sort of break through those first few phases, and you do need, it's the biggest thing you need more than anything else, much more important than a good idea or great customers, or is you need luck to fall your way. I was lucky, luck fell our way. If you get through those first couple of hurdles, then you start to have a choice. Is what you do with things having gone well, and you suddenly say, "Oh, I've made a bit of profit. What should I do with that profit?" And my attitude has been, well, the obvious thing to do with that is to reinvest that in your business and use growth to make you better. So I can absolutely hand on heart say that our food is better today than it has ever been. And I give a little example. Do you like a little example of this?
I'd love a little example.
I'll give a little example. I'll sort of try and bring it to life with one ingredient. Parsley. Okay, parsley. Parsley. Great ingredient. So when I first started, I used to go off down to the Great Western International Market just outside Heathrow and try and buy a bit of parsley. Not very good at getting up early in the morning, so I wasn't always there at 3 a.m. when it starts. I got there at 6, and you kind of walk around the market. There's only some slightly manky parsley left, so you have to buy the stuff that isn't great. You pay not a great price. You pay quite a high price for it. You get the sort of, the dog ends, and then you go back the next day and you get it from another supplier and so we were buying pretty awful parsley at a pretty awful price, with not knowing where it came from a different person one day, Monday to Tuesday to Wednesday. Today, and then we sort of chop it up and not very well. Today, we buy quite a lot of parsley. I worked it out. We buy 900,000 bunches of parsley. sort of a year, something like that. Very long.
Out of interest, do you know where you rank in terms of the Parsley buyers of Britain?
No, we're not. We're
Speaking for a nerdy
tiny.
mate of mine.
We're tiny when it comes to anything like that. But what we do today with our parsley, so we now buy it from a lovely guy called Joe, a farmer in Kent, and he's an expert at growing parsley. And I know Joe, and I go out and I've stood in the fields with him, and I understand how we grow parsley and what happens seasonally and all of that. And it's harvested for us every afternoon. And it comes on a lorry to us, so it arrives super fresh. We know exactly where it comes from. I can picture the field where it's going to be picked up, where it's going to be cut this afternoon, and then it's going to come to us. And then we have a special machine. We spent about a year developing a special machine, working with someone that absolutely perfectly washes it, dries it, chops it, and so now we have the best fresh parsley to put on top of our lasagna that we could possibly have.
And for that, very broadly, read across a whole load of
and
other
do that
ingredients.
on everything.
Yes. Okay. Let's throw it open to the audience. I mean, we could run a long time. There's so much to cover. So please, if you have a question, we've got a couple of mics either side. Put your hands up. Otherwise, I will continue. I'm going to continue unless I see hands. So let's go. Sorry. Apologies. Well, so I'm so sorry. Sorry. Apologies. And again, if you could say who you are and your company. Thanks.
Hello, my name's Zoe. I'm from a company called Neighbourly, and I'd love to know what you do with your surplus food.
Oh, great question,
Great
Zoe.
question.
Thank you for asking. We are trying very, 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 very hard to have, we're on a mission to have zero edible food waste. Now, that might sound easy. This is an incredibly difficult thing to do if you run a business, even medium-sized business like ours. We work with a couple of charities. We work with Fair Share down here very closely in
Great
London.
charity.
In London, we work with a brilliant charity called City Harvest. So a lot of our surplus food we give away to our team, first of all, and they like that. And I like that too, because it means they're eating our food. But we do send out a lot of food, several tons of food a week actually, to City Harvest and Fair Share. But we're on a mission to make sure that not a single morsel of edible food goes in the bin. It goes, anything that does go in the bin, by the way, it doesn't go in the bin or into landfill. It goes off to anaerobic digestion, so it does serve a purpose, but our food's better than that.
And we'll be hearing from Zoe shortly on a panel session this afternoon. So thank you, Zoe from Neighbourly. Any further questions? Yeah, I can see right in the middle, nice and...
I don't need a mic.
Don't you? Just as well. You're the least accessible when it comes to
Very
mics.
short question. I'm Claudia from Storm Consultancy. What is your favourite dish?
Of yours or of any?
What's your favourite Charlie Bigham in the supermarket that we can all buy?
All depends on the day.
Oh, okay.
It all depends on the day. It's
Today.
a lovely hot day. Today, I'm going to recommend, rosé. It's a rosé day. It's a rosé day, isn't it? We haven't had many days of summer so far. So I would say a lovely chilled glass of rosé is going to be the perfect accompaniment to our paella.
Ooh, rosé and paella. I would not have paired rosé with paella. There we go.
Oh, it's a good combo.
Okay, all right. In this vein, speaking for me, this is. Tell us, a Leicester day, a rainy day, or a cold day. What might that be?
Rainy day right now.
Yeah, rainy day in the summer. Bit of a
Rainy day in the
disappointing
summer.
day.
I think maybe red Thai curry would be all right. Pretty good.
And do you have a pairing wine with that at all?
I think I'd probably have beer with that.
Would you?
I mean, if you want to, you might go.
What's your tipple? What do you drink?
What I do, but I drink more wine than beer. But
Yep.
why not go for if you're going to go for a Thai, you might go into a speciality section and find some Singer beer or something.
Something like that. Okay, thank you. There's 2 or 3 questions. So right at the front row, please. Yeah, you get the mic over, please.
I don't have a microphone.
Okay,
Just have to shout.
Kate is a couple here you can avail yourself of. No worries at all. Anyone? Keep it nice and snappy if we can. We've got a hand at the back. Liam, if you go to the back as well, please. Thanks. Yeah,
Hi,
to you.
Charlie. Paul Burden from Perform Well. I was really interested to hear your attitude towards learning, which is obviously critical for most people in the room building their businesses. And in particular, your statement, you get really irritated if you make the same mistake twice. How do you install that within a team in the size business that you've got so that people are continually learning? And how do you react where people are making mistakes, not just twice, but maybe 3, 4 times the same mistake?
Well, the prior question is, and do they necessarily be there to make 3 or 4 mistakes? Or who knows?
Yeah, I think that, we have a business which is run on really, really strong values. But if someone's going to come in and make the same mistake again and again, I'm afraid we're not the right business for them. You know, you've got to be pragmatic about things. We're not a charity.
And to the point about a learning culture, how you maintain that again, given the size of the business?
Well, I think you have great people. We've got a really good people team, and so we do a lot of sort of training and in-house courses, and we really encourage people to have their own personal development plans and all of that. So I think it's sort of embedded in who we are. You know, one of our core values is to attract and retain the very best people, and you can't do that if you don't back that up with enabling people to learn.
With actions. A question towards the back. Yeah.
Hi, I'm curious about you having your name on the company. Has it caused issues, or is it, in terms of getting other people feeling a part of it, or if you eventually want to sell it? Or?
Oh, we'll come to that latter point, but no, just the eponym of Charlie Bigham.
It's a bit weird. It wasn't deliberate. It just sort of happened. I won't tell you how to. It was not a very interesting story, but it just happened. I didn't say, I want my name on it, but it appeared there. And actually, I think it's a bit odd sometimes, but overall, I like it. Is it gives me the ultimate trump card to pull. If we're having a discussion about whether a recipe is good enough or whether it should be.
What, you get the last say?
I say, hang on a sec, guys. It's got my name on it.
But okay, what might you have been called? Did you have an alternative?
We went to a design agency. It was a sort of friend of a friend. I think I may have suggested calling the business Holy Mackerel.
Ah, not bad.
Just because I kind of quite like that, but I'm really glad we didn't. I think that would have been a terrible name.
It might have narrowly defined in a particular way. So we've got a question over here. Yeah.
Bobby Joe. As someone who's also spent the better part of a year having great ideas in the back of a camper van.
Well done.
Thank you. Have you tried to maintain a sense of adventure while you're doing your accounts? And if so, how have you done that?
Well, yes. I hope I do retain a sense of adventure. I love travelling. Where I was a couple of months ago, I was riding a stallion through the mountains in Kyrgyzstan.
That's quite remarkable. Our first speaker yesterday was from Kyrgyzstan.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah,
Fantastic
I will
country.
have to hook you up with.
Very few people go to Kyrgyzstan. I recommend going. You've probably already heard what a lovely country it is. It is a beautiful, amazing country.
Well, I love the happenstance. Good question. Another question over here. I saw a hand go up. Please, if we get the mics over as soon as possible. Do we have any other questions whilst we're waiting for this one? No, we'll take that one. And I think
Charlie, hi.
It. Yeah.
Dave Mason, Mentor Media. I love your lasagnas, by the way. So the question isn't about...
You haven't got any on you,
cheese.
have you? He loves them so much, you see. Go on, you go.
As somebody... Yeah, have you got a free one in your bag? As somebody whose name is above the door, and I work a lot in risk and reputation and crisis management with leaders, what keeps you awake at night as a business owner with your name above the door?
I'm very lucky. I'm a relaxed person. And I think sometimes there's this notion that everybody is suited to setting up and running their own business. I actually don't think that's true. So I don't think anyone should ever feel bad about not having their own business and not wanting to start their own business. It suits some people and it doesn't suit other people. I think I'm lucky. I've just sort of, round peg and round hole. I just found this slot running my own business, and I think one of the reasons I'm lucky is I don't worry about stuff. I kind of just think,
Not reputation or your name being on something that goes in the media?
Well, you have to be careful. I mean, you have to be careful not to say stupid things, and I'm not saying I don't say stupid things, but does anybody remember a man called Gerald Ratner?
Oh, yes. Was that the prawn sandwiches?
No, you said everything was crap. Yeah.
Oh, the crap, yeah.
Crap
The
jewellery.
jewellery. Of course, you're right. Probably, yeah.
And actually, it's a really interesting, there's, what's he called, the guy who does More or Less on Radio 4? Someone will know his name. Sorry? No, not Evan Davis. Tim Harford.
Tim Harford, yeah.
Tim Harford has a very nice little podcast called Cautionary Tales. And he does a cautionary tale about Gerald Ratner. And actually, I'd really recommend going and listen to it, because when you listen to that, for those of you who told the story, this is Gerald Ratner. He had a high street jewellery business, and he stood up in something and he said, basically everything we sell is crap. But he didn't say that. He was actually, he said something else, but it was taken out of context. And I think it did sink his business, actually. It was a very successful business. Yeah. And so I think, there's a cautionary tale. I think for any business leader, you have to be conscious of what you're saying the whole time, to an extent. But also, I think it's, you try not to be really boring as well. I mean, I hope I'm not too boring.
Charlie, I don't think you've been too boring. I don't think you've even been faintly boring. And I'm going to give you the last question, which I suspect you know is coming, which is this. For a scale business in such a sweet spot with the values, brand, reputation, momentum that you have, the intensely relaxed approach which you have as an individual, what is the destiny of the company? Might you ever sell?
Well, I've talked about one thing we're weird about in this country, which is this knock businesses as they grow, and maybe it's linked to it as well. We're also weird about this idea of selling businesses, and this is something people say, oh, but don't everyone do that? I think. When you set up a business, and some of you, I know, put up your hands, you're probably already, who set up a business, you're probably already getting people asking you the question, when are you going to sell? Not if are you going, are you going to sell? It's like, when are you going to sell? People start asking this question, once you've been doing it for about 5 minutes. and you look at Germany, obviously, we know doesn't do that. They have these amazing multi-generational family businesses. We have lots of European suppliers who are amazing multi-generational family businesses. Even in America, they have, it's kind of the norm to have dynastic businesses. Japan, they go on for 10 generations. And so I actually think we need to get away from this idea that people set up businesses to sell them. I don't think they should. I think there's a real pressure that people think they should sell. And I'm a sort of, it's another soapbox thing for me. Like, I'm like, no, do not sell. Think about the long term. That's where you're going to drive real value into society, actually, is long-term businesses. And so, no, I have no interest in selling the business. And it makes, actually, the future much more interesting, because it enables us to do sort of unusual things. Like, we built this fantastic kitchen in an old quarry just outside Wells. If we had a short-term view, we would never have done that. We built that with a 20, 25-year view for that to really come to fruition. We're 7 years in. It's actually doing really well. But, we've got a big piece of land which is sitting there empty to build more kitchens on as we, fingers crossed, continue to grow.
Charlie, you've touched on so many remarkable themes here about your own remarkable business, and just to pick some of them, success is, I think, part of what you're saying, success is what you define success to be. It certainly doesn't ineluctably have to end in an exit. That's not necessarily success. It may be for some, but it is definitely, clearly not for you. Sense of enjoyment, exploration, discovery, learning, all those good things, coping with setback, running a team, building scale, having ethical values. There are multiple lessons to take from this, and I hope that you've enjoyed this as much as I have done. We're absolutely thrilled to have had you here today, Charlie, and all power to you and all the best for the future. Charlie Bigham, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.